Greetings and salutations, my name is Mika and welcome back to my channel. So, we are continuing with my 1001 Nights of Etihad Airways. The previous episodes will be down in the description box and in the playlist. And well, I'm dressed as Kylie today because Kylie Minogue is in New York City. She's launching her wines here and she is doing a live signing and meet and greet at one of my wine shops here in New York. So that's what this is about. And you know what? I'm cautiously optimistic here. So I have been drinking her Prosecco. So she launched in 2020 in England, and slowly Europe has been getting her wines, and Australia, New Zealand as well, and now finally the United States. So this is the Prosecco, and I think I have drank I don't know 50 already of these bottles. So it's a gorgeous bottle. Look at that, the little hearts, and they're Kylie Minogue Prosecco. So she's signing her rosé bottles. She has a line of rosés, and then this one, so she's signing the bottles, and also we can do a wine tasting there. And I made this, so that's from her Aphrodite tour. We have the cava here and the Prosecco here, and so hopefully I get to meet her and she can sign this, because you won't believe, I have been a Kylie fan since spinning around. So 22 years I have been a fan of Kylie, and I saw her X tour in Helsinki in 2008, I believe. So I have been a fan for a very long time. So now the fact that I could actually get to meet my idol today. But anyway, so we are here to talk about my life as a flight attendant once again with Etihad Airways. And previously we talked about, I told you about the training and what Etihad's training month and a half, what that looks like. And at the end I mentioned that I got pneumonia. So that's where we ended that episode. So to continue from that, I'll also talk a little bit about what it's like if you get sick outstation, so out of home base and stuff like that. But yeah, let's continue with the story. Yeah. Okay, so I was diagnosed with pneumonia at the Etihad Airways clinic, and they sent me to a hospital in the city, not too far from Dusitani. And so I went in, and they're like, yeah, you need to be hospitalized immediately. So I was begging them, can I please go back to Dusitani, 1 hour, I'll get my laptop, I get pajamas, my skincare, at least the essentials, so please let me go. So they reluctantly let me go. So I went back to the hotel. I met one of my batch mates, and I was crying. I'm like, I have pneumonia, I don't know what's gonna happen. I have to go to a hospital. I never stayed in a hospital before, at least I don't recall staying in a hospital before. So I packed my things, a small suit, a little tiny cabin trolley, and then went back. And it was quite shocking in the beginning, because I had to wait for a room, and they put me in with all these other patients, and they put I think it was the IV drip, that sort of thing, the needle, and it was horrific. This woman, she was like, you have such small hands, we can't use the adult needle, so we are gonna give you the pediatric needle, the children's needle. But when she put that thing in here, it was so painful. I never experienced a pain like that before, and I was crying, and it was awful. It was so painful 15 minutes after they put that thing in there. And now I'm doing physiotherapy here in New York, and my physiotherapist, when I told her this story, she was horrified. She was like, it shouldn't hurt. So whatever this nurse did, she did it completely wrong. So that shouldn't hurt. And I got PRP for my hip a month ago or so, and it was the same thing. So the doctor had to draw blood, but I have difficult veins, like they kept collapsing or something, so he had to take it from here, just a small pinch. So I'm like, I don't know what that lady in Abu Dhabi, what she was doing, but yeah, it was very painful, you guys. So I was lying there receiving medicine for like for 3 hours or so, and then I got my room, and it was a private room. And then I stayed there for 5 days. And during that time, so received medicine and stuff like that, resting. And my batchmates, they actually came to visit me. Like they were texting me like, hey, we want to come and visit you. And I'm like, no, it's fine, you don't need to worry, I'm feeling better, like it's fine. They're like, no, hey, we are coming and we are gonna visit you, what room are you in? So that was like, I don't cry easily. I don't like to cry in public or like at all, basically. But I cried when they came to visit me, and they got me like fruits and strawberries and chocolate and whatnot. I cried. Like that really touched me. It was a beautiful thing to do. Even though we were never like close, I was never close with those girls. Like we were kind of like, yeah, batchmates, like acquaintances. That's how I felt. I never became friends with any of them, even though we did things after training together and stuff like that. But yeah, I never became friends with them. But it was a very nice gesture. So I remember that forever. So I stayed there for 5 days, and there was another mishap where the drip. So it took 6 hours for that bag of medicine to finish, and I never stayed in a hospital before. I don't know how these things work. I didn't know that there's like this stand and you can kind of walk around. I think I saw that in movies or something. And so I was waiting there in bed, like trying to hold it, and it's like, I really need to use the toilet, but the medicine is not finished because it was hanging above my bed, yeah. So the next day I asked the nurse, like, can you please make this go faster, because I want to use the bathroom. And then she's like, yeah, okay. She put it to like full, I don't know, like how fast the medicine goes, like to max. And I started to feel intense pain here. It was again very, very painful. And I was like, you have to stop it. I was feeling sick, like I'm so nauseous. And then again I started crying so much, and I'm like, I want my doctor, and I want to this thing, take it out. So they did. And then they're like, oh, we have to put it back in. I'm like, no, you are not putting it back in. This was day 3. So I already received medicine for 3 days. And then the doctor comes in, and I'm crying. I'm like, it hurts and I hate it. And the nurses are looking at like, what is this? This white princess is like, oh my God, it's like, and the doctor is like, she's in a strange country, like she's scared, her hand hurts, like ladies, bring in the delivery menu, the restaurant menu, because they had a restaurant in that hospital, like a nice restaurant. It was a very nice hospital. They had like a pianist downstairs and like these water fountains, very posh hospital. So I got to have Diet Coke and pizza from the menu, so that made my day. And then thank God they didn't put it back in there. Like, okay, they're gonna give me, I think it was just oral medicine, something like that. But yeah, that was quite traumatizing. Yeah, if it's up to me, I never want to stay in a hospital ever again, If it's up to me, it's inevitable that all of us will have to spend some time in a hospital eventually, regardless what it is. But yeah, that wasn't nice. But thank God the pneumonia was cleared, so that was fine. And potentially I got fibromyalgia, which is like an oversensitivity of the body. I was diagnosed here in New York, so that's probably the after effects of pneumonia. And you guys, or perhaps that pneumonia is not a joke. You can die from pneumonia. There was a Hollywood actor, I think he was in his 40s, the black guy from Ocean's 11, Bernie Mac, was it? So he died from pneumonia. So pneumonia is not a joke. But yeah, thank God I was cleared and I was healthy again. And during this time, obviously, I went to the hospital right after training, so I lost my first month of flights, which was, I was supposed to go to Singapore. I was supposed to do Singapore, Brisbane, which people said that that's a hellish flight because you are away for a week. So basically you fly to Singapore, you stay in Singapore, you fly to Brisbane, Australia, you stay there, then you fly back to Singapore, you stay again one night in Singapore, and then you come back to Abu Dhabi. So it's 1 week of grueling work, especially in economy. Business class probably the same. I was supposed to do, I think, Bangkok, I was supposed to do London, and so I lost all those flights. But yeah, so I was healthy, and then I was, I think I was still recovering for a week or so, and then I got my new roster. And in the beginning, so you do your training, and when you start flying, you get 3 SUPI flights, which means that you are practicing. So you get to practice on all the planes, so Airbus 320, Airbus 330s, 340s, and Boeing 777. So my first flight on Airbus 330 was to Istanbul. It's a turnaround flight, so you come back the same day. My first layover was to Bangkok, 777. I'd never been to Thailand or Bangkok before, so yeah, that was fun. And then the Airbus 320 was to Beirut in Lebanon. So got to do those flights, and I will talk about the flying life and what's that like later in the series. Yeah, but so that's the pneumonia story basically. And now I just want to touch on health, like when you fly and when you work for an airline, how it works. So with Etihad, it's basically ideally you need to call in sick before your duty. So I forget now, I think it's 24 hours before or something. There's a cutoff point that they accept. So if you call after that cutoff point, then there is disciplinary action potentially will be taken. Yeah, and there are these rules regarding like when you can call sick and stuff like that. But ideally you call sick when you are in Abu Dhabi, when you are in base, because then they can replace you with another crew who is on standby. And Etihad had their own clinic, and for the first few years it was great because you could go and see any doctor you wanted basically. So yeah, especially because I eventually was injured, so I needed to do physical therapy. I had to see like a specialist for my hip and the joints, and do MRIs and stuff like that. So it was really helpful that I could just go and see a doctor who has trained in the injury that I have. But then the last few years when I was there, Etihad changed the protocol, so you always had to go to their clinic, and their doctors had to refer you to a specialist, which we all hated. Like we all despised that decision, because you lose a lot of time because you need to get an appointment. You can't just walk in. You need to get an appointment with them, and these are just GPs, general practitioners, so they don't specialize in, like, let's say if you break your foot or ankle, or if you have like elbow injury because you play tennis on your free time, stuff like that. They don't specialize in any of that. So you still have to go see them, and they have to decide that, oh yeah, you need to go see a specialist. So I really hated that. Everybody did. I think it's probably the same now, but yeah, so ideally when you are at home, you call in sick and then you get a sick leave. So let's say this has happened to me a few times, and to a lot of crew actually, because we hate calling in sick. It's just because there's a lot of things that you have to deal after, get a doctor's note, and then your personal manager will start calling you and asking you questions and stuff like that. And actually so once you finish your training, you are on probation. Yeah, so you are on probation for 6 months. 6 months. Yeah, it was 6 months when I was there, and something like illness or something can be a good enough reason for them to let you go. And I was on pins and needles basically almost the whole 6 months, because I'm like, I missed my first month. I was in a hospital. Like, it's a very good reason. Like, it wasn't like for nothing. But what I have heard is like at that time people were let go for much less. That was the gossip that I heard. So I was a little bit freaked out. I was like, are they gonna let me go after 6 months, because I was in a hospital for 5 days? Obviously they didn't let me go, but yeah, it's a pain in the ass. I felt that every time if you were sick, even if you were really sick, they would always call you or send you emails and stuff like that. It's like, why are you sick? Like, do you have the doctors know? What do the doctors say? How long do you think you will be sick? Stuff like that. So it's like, I felt like almost like a child, you know, teachers being like, you know, are you being naughty or something? It's like, no mate, I'm sick. I have a fever of 38, you know, or runny nose. So depending on the company, even if it's a pain in the ass, if you are sick, stay home. I'm telling you, stay home. You have a runny nose, you have blocked ears, food poisoning, like you puked in the morning and you think that, okay, I can do an afternoon flight. Monitor your body. If your body is telling you you are sick, headache, migraine, stay home. I can tell you from an experience, it is not fun to be sick outstation, and I will get to that in a moment. So be responsible. This body, your body is so important. It's so important to take care of this, and especially because like you're flying, it's a very, very difficult job and it's a very exhausting job. So you get exposed to all kinds of viruses and whatever. So if you are sick, take that time to rest, let your body recover, honestly. So in my case, I have been sick in New York 3 times. I don't know, I think that flight was cursed or something like that. And so one was, I got food poisoning in New York. So we stayed in Long Island at that time. And so I came to the city, I met with a friend, and I had dinner and stuff like that. And then went back by midnight. I was back in Long Island, went to bed, and then in the morning I had my morning porridge, and then I was just speaking Norwegian to the toilet bowl for the next hour or so. And then it stopped and I started feeling better. So I'm like, okay, maybe it's out of my system, like I'm fine. So I go downstairs to meet the crew, and I'm white, like I'm already pale, but I was like white, and I started to feel a little bit like again. And I'm like, our purser cabin manager's like, Henny, you don't look good. I'm like, yeah, I was puking this morning, I think it's food poisoning. And then she's like, why are you here on the flight? And the flight, thank God the flight was basically empty. And I was like, no, I can do it, you know, we have 2 people in first class, it's perfectly fine, like I'll be fine. But no, after takeoff, I'm like, I start getting a high fever, I puked again, I feel like so awful. So the cabin manager, she puts me in the bunk, and then my fever just won't go away. She gives me medicine, and according to our protocol, if a crew or a passenger, if their fever hits 39 Celsius, that's when they will inform the captain, and the captain will try to divert. Will divert, because we have all these protocols. Obviously, a high fever is not a joke. So you need to get this person to a hospital. So the captain would divert somewhere, unless we are over the Atlantic Ocean. So it still could be hours. So it depends, but yeah. So even if you are a passenger or crew member, you get sick during the flight. If it gets that serious, the captain will divert. So we'll try to save you, yeah. So I was in the bunk and she was taking care of me, and I felt so bad. I'm like, I should have called followed the protocol we have when you are sick outstation, and just stayed in New York. Yeah, but didn't. So that's one. And a second one is again in New York. This time I burned my hand because the bloody coffee machines in that stupid hotel we used to stay in. So the American coffee machine in hotels is like, it's just, you don't even get a kettle to boil water, because I boil water for my tea. So you need to use the bloody coffee machine. So they give you these pouches and you put it in the thing, and then you put water, and then it's gonna drip down, yeah? So it was dripping down and it finished, and I reached out to get the paper cup. Boiling hot, not foam, steam comes out of the machine. I dropped the cup obviously, and I'm like, like burning, more steam is coming out. And there wasn't even a warning that, you know, watch out for the hot steam after the water is done or the coffee is done. Boiling hot stream, and I'm like, oh my God. I go to the bathroom, like running cold water for 20 minutes, And then I called the reception. I'm like, hey guys, you need to bring in a first aid kit here because your bloody coffee machine burned my hand. Anyway, so that was a whole big thing. But this time I called the cabin manager and I'm like, well, I burned my hand. I can use it, so it's not like the skin is peeling off or anything. It's just very, very red and it hurts. But I got medicine now, like this cooling medicine, and I wrapped it in like those those wraps or whatever, the medical tape or something. And I said, I'm fine, like I can do the flight, but this is not according to style and image. Because Etihad is, most of these Middle Eastern airlines, they're very strict when it comes to like how you look, like your makeup, your uniform, how you keep it, your nail polish, stuff like that. So they're very, very strict. So obviously me walking around the first class cabin with my hand in a you know, wrapped up is not up to style and image standards. So I told her, like, what do you want to do? Like, I'm fit for flight and I don't have an area that I have to take care of or like passengers, because when you have a door, so you are responsible of that door, you use it to evacuate people and to open the door during normal operations. And then you have an area of people you're responsible for. So you have to be 100% fit to do that. So burned hand, something like that, that counts as not fit. But I didn't have that because I was extra crew member. So I said, what do you want to do? So she's like, yeah, if you think you're fine, come for the flight. And then I come down and she sees my hand and she's kind of like, huh. And I'm like, well, yeah, I can do it, but obviously we need to report the coffee machine and we need to report this hotel to the company and what happened and so on. So that was a whole nother thing. I worked and everything was fine, but it was like one of those things that other airlines wouldn't even think about. Like, you are extra crew member, fine, something happened to your hand, you can use it. It's not a big deal. But obviously to Etihad there, how beautiful you have to be, that kind of thing, it was a big deal because not beautiful. And then the last thing, oh my God. So again in Abu Dhabi, I have a sniffles, yeah? So runny nose, you know, little bit blocked sinuses. And I'm like, I can do the flight, it's fine. In flight, I start feeling like pain in my ears, like, okay, my ears are blocked. And then my runny nose, it gets worse. And by the time we land in New York, my ears are blocked and they refuse to pop. So I stay in my room and I do the steaming and hot water with lemon and honey, and just really like the towel over my head and like really trying to get my ears to, you know, to pop, you know. Nothing is working. And then I start to feel like the cold symptoms. And I'm like, I call again our operations and I say, you know, I'm not flying with my ears blocked because it can be very dangerous, yeah? So you fly with blocked sinuses or with blocked ears, you can actually become deaf with these, yeah? And obviously because they control our balance and stuff like that, it's serious business. So again, if you are at home and you think that, yeah, I'll be fine, like it's no big deal, it can be a big deal, okay? And it is a big deal, so don't do that. And I'm telling you, if you are sick, you'd rather be sick at home than staying in some stupid hotel that's not even glamorous. You know, you won't be staying at Four Seasons, yeah? You won't be staying in a suite at the St. Regis, yeah? No, it's a stupid airport hotel where the staff, they barely change the towels or the sheets when you come in, so it's gonna suck. So stay home if you're sick. It's way more fun even though you're sick. You can lay on the couch and watch whatever, you know, your friends can bring over snacks, way more fun. So I had to stay in New York for 5 days. For 4 days my ears refused to, you know, to open, and it sucked. It really sucked. And that hotel sucked. We left that hotel eventually. We moved up to Connecticut, and now I hear Etihad is here in Manhattan. Not sure, I mean, not 100% sure, but apparently they are now here. So yeah. So 3 times I have been sick in New York, and then I had to deadhead back. So deadheading means that, yeah, you go as a passenger and you're gonna be in economy. So you go with the crew, and then once you get on board, you change into a pajama, and then you look like a passenger basically. And then I guess you get to relax the whole flight. But imagine if economy is full, 13-hour flight, and you are recovering from flu or from whatever, it's gonna suck. So yeah, please stay home. This body, it's so important, you know, guys, you know. And one last thing, so yeah, let's say like in this case, thank God I was additional crew. So if I had that door position and those passengers I have to look after, if I stayed in New York, it would be a big problem for the company because now they would have to find somebody else to take over that door. So if you call in sick when you are home, they can still replace you with a healthy crew member. So it becomes a big headache, not just for you, but also for the company if you are sick outstation. So it's like, again, one last time, if you are sick, don't fly when you are sick, okay? And this also applies to you as a passenger, because the same thing with the ears. Just because you're a passenger, it doesn't, you know, make you immune to things. So again, if you are sick, for your sake, stay home, get a doctor's note, get a new flight if it's not vital for you to fly. So take care of yourself, okay? So yeah, that is it. So thank you so much for watching, and again, if you have any questions for me, you can reach you can find me here on YouTube or on Instagram. Some of you know I'm very active on Instagram, so you can message me there. So any questions you have, go ahead. And again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. So bye, ciao.